Any
bro.
movement has that. Yeah.
I think that that our culture is addicted to that. I think that we've been set up. You know, we want to constantly have this binary and go at each other's throats. I mean, I think that's simply what it is. And you know, I saw somebody make a commentary on this the other day, and they said these young people are arguing over this thing that's happening so far away from them, but they're fucked in terms of like being able to like buy a home. You know, job market's slowing, inflation might be trending back up. I mean, there's a lot of other shit to be fucking really fucking worried about pragmatically in this country. And I thought it was interesting that that was the criticism that this one young man was making about his peer.
Well, that's because all these college students, bro, they think they smart because they on their way to get a fucking piece of paper that launches them into, 30 plus thousand dollars worth of damn debt and shit. And then they get the degree and then realize that they've been told their whole life to be a certain kind of smart, but the real world doesn't require them to be that kind of smart. That Excel spreadsheet, Canva using, fucking smart like nigga. That shit don't really matter, bro. That's not real applicable smarts, bro. Get the fuck out of here. They lack wisdom. The generation of a ton of experience and no wisdom at all.
You know, I think
It's
it's
an
interesting when people say that,
age old
but
story.
yeah, and that statement varies a lot between whether it's completely true or completely false based on what school you're talking about, right? I've experienced it myself from going to like an extremely hard school to get into, and then like undergrad, not flex, it's high school. I don't give a fuck. I'm not flexing, whatever. You know, did well in high school, got into a hard college for undergrad, and then I considered a graduate program at a not as hard to get into school, but had to take some like summer like prerequisites that were with undergrads. Anyways, long story short, the difference between those two experiences were fucking night and day, bro. Like, there are universities out there. I know not everybody can go to them, but are really, really giving you a fucking quality education, and you can like get everything out of it that you put into it. There's also schools that treat you like kids still for some reason when you're in college, and like you said, just like give you busy work and all that type of shit. So it really does depend.
Hi, this is Easy. Can you hear me?
Yes.
So I think you even have to go back even further because I worked for a educational publishing company for 10 years. And one of the things that you'll find is that in elementary level already there, especially in the public school system, especially in the United States, they have what's called the Common Core system. And what's missing from it is critical thinking skills. And you know what I'm saying? I'm saying like you look at two things and you try to figure out, gee, what's going on here? Problem solving, right? Looking at text, looking at contents of maybe two or three different sources, and determining for yourself where you can find the facts, where you can find the truth. The critical thinking skills is like extremely important, and unfortunately, with the way that the world now is all based on getting information from the internet, what's happening is the brain itself in younger children is already changing. It's already rewiring. It's rewiring in such a way that it basically just runs through headlines, but it does not consume the content so that it can decipher on their own what is fact, what is fiction, what is true, what is not. So the critical thinking skills is extremely important early on in the educational pathway of our children. And without it, they're going to struggle regardless. And everything that's in college isn't going to make any difference, to be honest. But yeah, so the publishing company I work for started creating books and sources in order to teach critical thinking skills. But the public school system, unless you are in certain states, and you could probably guess which ones they are. Florida is one. Texas was another. These states take their educational funding, okay, and they put them into these types of resources to teach their citizens how to think through things. So anyway, I thought I would just bring that up, coming from an educational background in the publishing industry. Thanks.
Yeah, and I hear you. It just gets on my nerves when people talk about, the like, oh, I knew I would never use calculus in the real life. And I know it's not what Elijah said, but you hear that a lot. College is a scam. You learn a bunch of shit that you're never going to use in the real world. As if critical thinking skills aren't a thing, as if like problem solving skills aren't a thing, as if like if you can get to like, advanced calculus level math, as if you haven't developed certain skills that are going to apply across the board without you realizing it to your just ability to think and solve problems. Like, you're crazy. I don't understand how people don't get that concept of education. It's not just about one-to-one, like memorizing knowledge and then using it in 5 years. Like, there's more to it than that.
Yeah, there's a reason why liberal arts colleges create liberals. It's not because it's in the name. It's because they tend to teach critical thinking. There's more coursework on history and on debate. And the more you do debate, you go two ways. Either you become more an honest person with yourself, or you learn how to be dishonest and use debate to be dishonest. And critical thinking, charges people to either be more fair and honest with yourself or learn how to manipulate people. So, I hope to think that more critical thinking to actually become better people.
I think that also can be an argument made, which I was kind of trying to make earlier, is that younger people tend to be more liberal too. So the culture of a university is often that. And I mean, I think there have been studies that show that, as people get older, they become more conservative. So I just wanted to kind of put that point out there too, because, it almost, sometimes it goes into, I'm not saying this is where it was going, but sometimes it goes into conspiratorial thinking, and it's kind of like, there is just, generational differences.
Well, there's a reason why Austin is the liberal bastion of Texas. It can't just be because geologically it worked out like that. It's because something happens in Austin that creates people to become, outside of the trends of just the neighboring cities, more liberal. And it's because people, the more you get, for instance, what's that saying? The more you get around the world, the more liberal you tend to be, because you start to learn about different people and customs and cultures, and it opens your brain up.
Andrew, it's so wet and smacky, and make it stop.
That's another thing about Austin. You guys got the humidity and the rain. We just have the rain up here without the humidity. So
no, I'm talking about your mouth.
Austin is very wet and smacky.
No,
very bad.
yeah, I'm talking about your mouth.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Sorry about that. I was just eating some Cheetos.
She hates
yo.
But no, there's also another trend, though, and to what Andrew was saying on top of that is, not trend, but, pattern that happened more recently where, you have this theory of, conservatives say, the liberal colleges are brainwashing their kids. As a lot of the conservative party also moves in a very, unacademic direction in their views on a lot of topics, including scientific topics. And so when those things compound and they're going directly against science and against academics, and then also saying all those universities are doing is brainwashing people, there are going to be no, now if that's the definition of conservatism, yeah, there are going to be no conservatives in higher education because y'all don't even believe the shit exists. You know what I mean? Obviously that's a broad statement, but it a segment of that definitely.
No, I mean, I think you're getting at something that's true, Travis, but you're doing it in a weird way, which I think is a bad way to do it. You're negating one form of extremism by pointing out another one. I hear you though, but I don't think that all conservatives are represented by the most extreme. I think it's a lot easier to make a case though that universities, not in totality, but